Were you let down and disappointed by Season 1 of Star Trek Picard? Good news. Season 2 is going to be even worse. Hello everyone, I am MechaRandom 42, the one, the only, the original, your favorite YouTube consumer advocate harpy. And why is that good news? Well, it is only good news in the fact that I am much more articulate when I am tearing something a new one than I am when I'm giving a positive, happy review. Oh yeah, and I also get to use the theme music. Oh yes, I do. Oh, my poof didn't work. Yeah, poofed anyway. Star Trek Picard is a current representation of everything that is wrong in current society as depicted in science fiction television. It is the absolute worst TV series that I have ever seen. Modern day Batwoman is better. I'm not even joking. Modern day Batwoman is better. Modern day Doctor Who is better. Why do I say modern day Batwoman? Because this makes me crazy. This makes me forget words. I get so irritated and frustrated. Akiva Goldsman, the Star Trek Picard producer, is confirming here that what's happening culturally right now will be reflected in Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. That was the problem, wasn't it? That you forgot to give us a hopeful, optimistic look on humanity, where people put past their petty differences and work together. They were out there trying to be the best that they could be. They were trying to live in a society where you didn't have media hit pieces trying to condemn old captains because they didn't do a good enough job. No, they didn't. You had reasonable, realistic, optimistic outcome for the most part. And whatever message they think was in Star Trek, they clearly didn't understand. The same viewpoint that I understood from Star Trek. And Akiva Goldsman right here is confirming that we're going to get more of the same modern day, beat you over the head until you have no choice but to be on our side or else sort of mentality. And that is not okay in Star Trek. That is not how you convince anybody of anything. You have to give them a reasonable representation and explanation of what's actually going on instead of just this, oh, Picard's bad because it was his privilege to be bad, or whatever those articles were. I've done countless article videos on this. This comes to us from our good friends over at Bounding Into Comics, so shout out, thank you so much. Star Trek producer Akiva Goldsman, who will also be showrunning the newly announced Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Oh, you really think Strange New Worlds is coming? Guess what? That's gonna be more of the same stuff too.
Coming to CBS All Access, from the makers of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard,
sheer fucking hubris,
and Short Treks. Comes a new series that's more of the same old, same old. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, coming to CBS All Access, if it still exists.
I don't think we're getting one. I don't think it's ever going to come because who wants this? Who wants to see yet another captain being talked down to constantly? Who wants to see any more of that? We get enough of that everywhere.
White male rage, white male rage, white male rage.
So much so that it's a meme. Indicated that current events will play a major role in shaping Star Trek Picard Season 2, because that's what we need. People with modern day antagonistic viewpoints of society writing for something where they had to break the entire universe to fit their story of Romulan immigration or whatever they were talking about in Star Trek Picard anyway. They had to break how the Federation was. They had to do away with all of that. Oh yeah, we're beyond the need for just material gain, and we're beyond the need to feel slighted all the time, and we're beyond the need to care about the superficial stuff that we can't change, and embrace the fact that we're different, and embrace the fact that there's going to be something about somebody else that I might not understand and can learn from them. But instead, no, they want to beat you over the head, use the tokenism, use the labels, use people for how they're representing you, the viewer, on screen superficially, other than writing a character to strive for. And don't get me started on the female characters in Star Trek. Every time they throw a female in there, they have to make her the most unlikable, unreasonable, sniping, vindictive, bitter, hateful, miserable person.
Shut the fuck up.
I mean, seriously, every single female on that show is unlikable, sex-crazed, on drugs, blaming Picard for everything that goes wrong in the world, even if they just meet him. And it's disgusting. How little do you think of women that you think that we want to be represented like that? And I've done countless videos on that too. Goldsman recently spoke with Backstage about Picard, hinting at what was in store for the second season of the CBS All Access show. If CBS All Access is still going to be a thing, we keep hearing rumors that they're going to be incorporated into something else, into whatever the Viacom greater parent company is getting incorporated into. Longtime producer of shows such as Fringe and Star Trek Discovery was very open about how he and other masterminds of the current iteration of Trek are going to tackle current cultural issues dividing much of the Western world. I don't want to be reminded of that in Star Trek, where I go to escape that. And you know what? I can just go to the Orville for that hopeful, optimistic look on humanity and have a little touch of humor without it needing to be Rick and Morty in space. Come on. Because that's all this other animated series is going to be. It's just going to be Rick and Morty in space. It's not even going to be like the funny Orville where it has the funniness of the human interaction and some of the misunderstandings. I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize here. Echoing season 1, showrunner. See, it's more of the same garbage. Showrunner Michael Chabon, greetings, small humans. He has a YouTube channel where he says that, so I have to make a meme of it. Oh, he's so hilarious. You gotta check out his YouTube channel. He reads kids' books with a camera angle that's looking down on you. It is hilarious. Oh, you gotta check it out. Goldsman also indicated that he believes it is impossible to create a show like Star Trek The Next Generation. Yeah, because you guys aren't talented enough. You know, all the people who could are working on the Orville. We already got one. It's called the Orville. Goldsman stated, the truth is that there's no opportunity to do more Next Generation. Time has passed, not just in real life, but in the Star Trek universe. That's a lazy excuse for saying you're not good enough. That's a lazy way of saying and admitting that you guys aren't good enough and you're not up to par, so you have to throw in all this modern day garbage that a lot of people didn't want to see. He added, we want to honor that because there's something interesting about telling stories that folks that have maybe lived their biggest adventures, or at least they think they lived their biggest adventures already. And here's where they go in. They're saying it was going to be more of a Logan thing. Yeah, that's the problem, though, is that you're trying to make Logan instead of Star Trek. You're trying to make it for this dark, gritty, like a modern-day Western, right? Also, thank you so much for subscribing. I saw the notification. You're trying to make it more like a thing that it's not. You can still have Star Trek. You can still have him going on adventures thinking, hey, I'm retired. There's not a lot to do. And what you do, copyright MechaRandom 42, you have Vash, his old flame, the archaeologist who ran off with Q, and he left her off in the Beta Quadrant, I believe. And then she ended up finding her way back to DS9, and she's having this huge blowout with Q on DS9. Oh, it was great. I think Q was in that one. Anyway, yeah, you have her show up at his vineyard, like he's there reading a book or something. He's there reading Shakespeare or Moby Dick or something. And then you zoom into him, right? And over his shoulder, hello, Jean-Luc. And you could have John Delancey even come in and say that, or you just have Vash there. And that's how you do it to get old fans come in. And then you can have them go off on one last adventure. And you could have it be all of the old people doing giggity stuff. Because that's what happens when you're of a certain age and you're single. You're still out there doing stuff, right? You don't have to have it appeal to the 18 to 24-year-old demographic by throwing in all these garbage characters that are only there to talk down to him. You could have these tales. You could have these life adventure stories, but you're not giving it to us. You know why? Because you don't have the balls to hire somebody like me to write this show. Because I'm not of your little clique. I'm not of your little group. You think less of me because I might question some of your motives. I might call you on your own sexism and ableism and racism. I might actually call you guys out on it, and you don't like that because you know it, because I'm a woman with an opinion, and there's nothing more than these fake woke progressive types hate. They hate nothing more than a woman who calls them out on their fake narrative. That is why they do anything in their power to shut up the women in the fandoms or ignore them completely. Here we go. Yes, it says, Logan, Goldsman's team considered what a postmodern view of the Star Trek universe and Picard himself would feel like. And there's your problem. There's your problem. You forgot you were making Star Trek. As the interview progressed forward, Goldsman detailed that Star Trek Picard is not value neutral. Value neutral? Oh, well, here's the thing. Star Trek always had a very humanitarian, progressive lean to it. And you took that away. You guys just took it away when you inserted modern day, beat you over the head with the message storytelling. And you threw in all this action. You need to focus on one thing or the other. A lot of your moral heavy Star Trek has no action at all. Drumhead, Measure of a Man, all of these sort of, they're courtroom drama sort of shows. No action, no space battles going on. You can have heavy intellectual debates on the show. They are not capable of writing it. If they were, we would have seen it already. He then added, culturally what's happening right now is resonant for us, and we are trying to be very thoughtful and aware of how that speaks to storytelling. We'll keep it out of there. One thing they most likely won't touch is the cough, which is fine. You know what? And that's kind of the problem, though. They're focusing more on all the social crap that Star Trek had already progressed beyond, right? And they're trying to insert that into the show, even though the world of Star Trek had gone beyond that. All that stuff was in the past. They had already worked out all the differences between people on Earth because the Vulcans landed, and they had to. The point is, they could easily tackle the cough in the scientific way. They could focus on how do we contain this and you know, that's basically Crusade from Babylon 5, the spinoff where the Drakh left a plague on the earth and they had to go out and find a possible cure. They had to go out and seek all the old ones, the first ones, all the ancient races that might have been left behind in the galaxy before all the main races went beyond the rim. And here I'm talking Babylon 5 because I could much rather talk Babylon 5 than this modern day garbage Star Trek that I only have any pleasure in is just ripping in a new one and memeing anymore at this point. He added, I would feel uncomfortable if I were to make this a theme of the second season of Star Trek Picard. It's too sensitive, too upsetting, too frightening. And then some of the other issues that we have dealt with, which are much more of a more political nature. Well, the political stuff seems to be almost worse than dealing with some scientific virus that you can actually do trial and error tests on. You could test, like, you could... Oh, they're just missing the mark. They're completely missing Star Trek. And that's Patrick Stewart saying this, that he doesn't want to put that in here. As for the idea of CBS All Access being influenced by current events in their decision-making process, that's nothing new. Current Star Trek architect Alex Kurtzman, wow, I can talk, revealed, oh, that's Alex Kurtzman. I gotta get my Alex Kurtzman ding up, don't I? Here we go. Alex Kurtzman revealed in December that the election of Donald Trump influenced our casting for the Star Trek Discovery show. He started, and one thing I remember very clearly was that we were still casting in the morning that Trump was elected, and somehow in the casting conversation, this question came up, like, okay, do we have to reconsider this? Kurtzman then stated, and then we doubled down and said, this is exactly why we have to do this right now. Oh, because you wanted to throw your temper tantrum about who won the election in Star Trek. Real grown-up and professional of ya, Alex. And a writer, Kurtzman. Goldsman's sentiments about Star Trek aren't new to Trek fans, though the current approach currently being used by the heads of the franchise is arguably new. In The Next Generation, episodes like Matter of Perspective would provide multiple viewpoints on an issue and allow viewers to make their own conclusions. Yes! Oh, you get it. I love you guys abounding into comics so much. But today's iteration of Star Trek is very much in your face. There's no nuance. They beat you over the head with it, with what they believe is their superior morals. For example, Discovery made it very clear and unsubtle comparison between the Klingons and the supporters of a certain president. That's why they were saying that their Make America Great Again was supposed to be Make Klingon Great Again. Yeah, but what do? They prop up L'Rell, who was one of those Klingons, as the leader, as such a hero. So they can't even stick to their own convictions in who they think the bad guy is in all of this, right? If they think all of these Klingons in the house of, Takuvma here, who had the shaved heads that they had to retcon in their interviews about a year after the fact when people were calling them on why the Klingons had shaved heads in the first place, they had to go in and glorify and bump her up, right? They had to make her so amazing in season 2 of Discovery. Oh, here we go. They're talking about the short treks, and if you guys did absolutely loathe the short treks or do want to support the channel, I have a sticker of the short trek tribute sticker available. It is a die cut sticker, $7.99 in my Teespring store. Also, if you guys do want to be a patron, $1 a month out of 10% of my viewers would mean I never have to worry about demonetization and being shadow banned on YouTube ever again. Here we go. The more recent example would be the male bashing short trek starring Rosa Salazar titled The Trouble with Edward. The short trek took the trope of an incompetent officer, and instead of attempting to rise him up and have him learn from his mistakes, he was constantly beaten down and berated. Yes, he was told he was an idiot, he was talked down to, and, was he a little crazy? Probably. He probably wouldn't have even passed his Starfleet exams. He would have never been let out of the academy in real Star Trek. But no, what do they have? They have to go again and represent every single woman in the show as being an unlikable, horrible person. When Goldsman attempts to claim historical mantle of Star Trek, the fruits of his labor actually portray a very different picture. Maybe the most interesting part of Goldsman's interview is when he states, "We try to be a good drama, and if you're a Star Trek fan, we hope you'll take a special pleasure in a bunch of the things that we put in there just for you and us." Oh, but if you are not a fan, then you should enjoy it differently but equally, because we want storytelling to be available to folks who like a good story. Well, hey, if you get near one, I would certainly love to watch it. You're not doing that. You haven't done it in 2 seasons of Discovery or 1 season of Picard. Now you got the short treks as well, the lower decks. Then you're gonna have allegedly the Strange New Worlds show. You haven't been doing very good so far. 3 strikes and you're out. Goldsman then added, "It's kind of a fun challenge we give ourselves. Will our husbands and wives who don't like Star Trek still like the show? Because if they do and will do, then we're doing a good job as long as we like it too as Star Trek fans." Well, you're not. You're making it only for those people who don't like Star Trek. We say this time and time again. You're making Star Trek for people who don't like Star Trek. This confirms it. And season 2 is going to be even worse. And if you actually care about that stuff and don't just care about one little detail and reference that they pulled off of Memory Alpha, the Star Trek wiki, about, oh, hey, he said Klingon, he said Tribble, he said SETI eel. Right. We get it. You guys like references. I like references too. I'm a geek. I get it. I can respect that. But at least give me a story that I can get behind and be inspired by. Because in this day and age, there is nothing more depressing and wrong with this world than going to Star Trek and being bummed out and miserable because the people who make it are a bunch of bummed out, miserable pricks of people who just want to beat you over the head with whatever political ideology that you may or may not agree with, and that doesn't even matter. I am MechaRandom 42, and I've ranted about this long enough. I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye! And